Welcome back to Steve Rob Reviews. Today I'm going to reviewing this. Now I have a Honda generator. It's the EU2000. It's roughly 10 years old and I've used it quite a bit whenever the power goes out. So what do you do when the power goes out? And a lot of people think about what kind of generator should I buy? How many watt generator do I need? How do I power my house? You know, these kind of things. Well, I'll tell you something. I don't promote any products on my channel. All I can say is I've had this for over 10 years. Every time I go to use it, it starts. It runs flawlessly, very fuel efficient. And I will tell you something. I've had the power go out for quite a bit of time over the years. And I can get away with 1 gallon of fuel a day in the middle of the winter to power my house. Now I'm not powering all the circuits. I'm powering my furnace, TV, internet service, a freezer, and a fridge. And you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of wattage. Well, today's video, you're going to learn that what you see advertised for any appliance that says what the amperage rating is or the wattage rating is, well, I'm going to show you today how that can be very deceiving. I'm also going to show you some kilowatt meters. I picked up 2 brand new ones, and I've had the original one now for over 30 years, and I primarily use these for experiments. So at the end of this video, I will put a couple of them boxes in. One for a video of this particular generator powering my whole house. How do I do it? I got the generator right in here in my garage. I got a power cord that goes out to my house, and it's quite a unique system that I use where I stay away from using any of the circuitry inside my house. Everything is done with extension cords, and I think it's probably the safest way. It's a lot less expensive than trying to tap into your mains on your house. So I would say, yeah, this generator, the Honda, now the new one now I believe is a 2200. This one here is 2000 watt maximum, around 1600 watt running. So that's about 13 amps. Now the new Honda, the EU2200, well, it will actually provide 2200 maximum watts and running, which is be about 1800. Now if you take a look at your regular receptacles that you plug into your house with, well, on a 120 volt circuit if you're in North America, well, that's a maximum of 1800 watts. And for me, in my house, the most I've been using is around 16 to 1800. Now I've measured this and it will put out more than 1600 watts continuously. So I think their specs, they kind of lowballed their specs a little bit, and that's just fine. So I would say you need an inverter generator as well, because my particular furnace is all digital. My TV is digital. My laptop is digital. Everything that needs really good, clean electricity comparable to your household electricity, well, that comes out of the Honda or any other, you know, like inverter generator. Now, I see a lot of people. I got friends of mine. They got these big honking generators, like I mean huge. Well, I tell you something. The last time we had the power go out, a friend of mine, 5 gallons of fuel. He burnt that in 1 day. 5 gallons of fuel in 1 day, and he didn't have it running no more than maybe 8-9 hours. And this here, well, if you conserve. Now I've got this hooked up to a 5 gallon tank. I show in the video how I do that if you want to watch it at the end here. But I hooked this up to a 5 gallon tank, and I know for sure I can get that generator to provide power to my house for a week. Now I'm not leaving the generator running full time. No, I'm not doing that. because there's no need to have everything on 24 hours a day, especially when you're sleeping for 8, right? And you can conserve the power by putting it on for a length of time, you know, for your fridge and your freezer and your furnace, and then shutting it down. So, you know, that's a way to conserve as well. And for me, 1600 watts does the trick for me. So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to explain a couple of things about when you take a look at an appliance, and I'm going to use some power tools for an example. You take a look at these power tools and they have a amperage rating on them or a wattage rating. And I will tell you something. They're completely wrong. Just right off the bat, they're completely wrong. Now, they put down theoretical startup for most of these power tools. And if you have a really good digital multimeter, it can capture the inrush. And that's what they're talking about, the maximum. But when you're running a lot of these particular appliances, well, they don't run at what you're going to see. So if you want to go take a look at a spec and you'll see a spec, well, what about my fridge? How much wattage does my fridge draw? Well, you'll see all kinds of, it'll be all over the map, right? Depends on what kind of fridge you got, how efficient it is. But generally, it's not as much as what you think. The original spike, yes. And I found that the Honda generator, well, it can handle the spikes. Plus, it's got the eco mode on it, so that when I first started up, I switched to eco mode, and it will only increase in RPM to provide the amount of draw that's required to match the RPM of the engine and conserve more fuel. So when, say, your furnace is not on, the RPM will drop. And I think that's just terrific. So let's go over to the bench here. Let's take a look at a little bit of an experiment on my part, see what I have set up, and I think you'll find this very fascinating. Okay, we'll start off with this Honda generator. At the time, consumers couldn't buy these generators because this one here was a friend of mine. It was a Caterpillar mechanic for heavy equipment, and they had lots of them at his shop, and he would order these. Now these are for the rental market, where they're supposed to be sold for, you know, for places that rent these out. So it's got like a built-in hour meter in it and a couple of other different features, but essentially it is the same wattage. Now it looks pretty brand new, right? Well, I just keep it in the original box, and I bring it out when the hydro goes out, and I take this cap off. I put my adapter on, hook it up to a 5-gallon can, and away I go. Now, this is my original kilowatt meter, or just meter, and I bought 2 of these. And they're, you know, you can read the instructions, you know, if you were to buy one of these. And what they're really designed for is if somebody wants to plug something into them, well, you can plug something in, you can figure out how much it's costing, you know, you can input your costs for a kilowatt hour, and it's got a clock on it, and it'll show you wattage, amperage, it will show you kilohertz, and there's all kinds of benefits of owning one of these. Now, I had this for over 25-30 years, and the only thing I don't like about it is it came with this type of, you have to put these batteries in, right? And I didn't like this style, because every time I go to use it, well, the batteries are dead, right? Now you can still use this. This will work if you plug it in, but you just can't save your data, you know, if the batteries are dead. So I bought this one here, and this one here is built a little bit differently. And you know, if we just take a look at the back here, you could see all the specs on there. It's good for 1800 watts, 15 amps, and I think it's a pretty good unit. Now, you can't expect these to be as accurate as what you're going to get out of your a good multimeter or an amp clamp, but they're close enough, right? Like, they're close enough, and I'm going to demonstrate it today. Now, a lot of people don't feel comfortable operating a digital multimeter. That's where one of these comes in handy. You just take this, plug it into the wall, and then take your particular appliance that you have and plug it into here, and you'll get all your data comes out on the screen. And what I like about this one here is it's got a backlit. So the backlight only works when it's plugged in. Now this one here has absolutely no backlight at all, and it's very hard to read any of the digits. You can imagine with the screen, you know, the way it is. So we're going to do a little bit of an experiment here. And here's the other unit, and I'll just show you you just touch any of the keys and the backlight will come on, and I thought that's pretty good, especially when you're like in a spot where it's dark. Now where would you use one of these? For me, you can plug it right in the front of your generator, you know, and you can just, like when I run my power cord out, and you plug this in the front of your generator, and for me, I would just, you know, plug it in right here. I mean, you plug it into your generator and plug your power cord out, and you can read. Now, I wouldn't actually plug it into the generator like this. I would probably put a little short extension cord on and then into this, because there's a lot of vibration and the odds are that it'll probably loosen up over time compared to just using an extension cord. So if we just go over to this one here, and I'll just show you some of the menus on it, and you could see that where it's on watts, and we'll just go through the menu here just a bit. We got watts, we got kilowatt hour, and then we've got voltage. Now right here is the hertz. Now that's important, especially if you have a genset, because on a generator, if you have a lot of voltage drop, you're not going to get 123. If you start dropping on your voltage, well, guess what? Your amperage is going to increase. So you want to actually increase the RPM on your generator to match and make sure it stays around 60. And I'll tell you something, the Honda, you know, the voltage regulation is just awesome on it. So there's amps right there. So we're going to start doing some testing, and we'll use the amps, and then I'll verify it with my my amp clamp, and we'll see how accurate these meters are. And I know somebody's going to ask me, okay, can you plug one of these into your power inverter? Like in my camp up in Northern Ontario, I'm all off grid. I don't believe so. And there's a lot of reasons why. I haven't tried it, but I don't believe that it's the same, because I'm working off a different, you know, electrical waveform than I have up my camp. It's a modified waveform. This is much different. This is like, you know, coming off your utility, or the Honda generator is like coming off your utility. So I've never tried it, and I have no reason to, but what I do is I like to experiment with using 120 volt appliances, and then figuring out how do I size my my solar panel, my inverter, and how much load am I actually drawing, because I'm going to show you these different power tools here one at a time, and I'm going to tell you it's very hard to actually look at any of these and figure out what you're doing if you don't have a way of testing them. So let's take a look at the first one here, and this is just a regular heat gun here. Now it says 12.5 amps, right? I'm going to come on this side here, and 750 watts, 1500 watts. So 750 on the low, 1500 on the high. Now, I think this is about the closest one we're going to see that's actually verifiable. But let's plug it in and let's see what it does. Okay, so I got that heat gun on. I got it on low, and it's supposed to run at 750 watts. And what I'm seeing there is 767, 68, which is close. So let's just move it over to the amps. 5.72 amps. So let's see what the Fluke says. 6.2. So it's pretty close, right? It's not exact, it's pretty close. And I mean, how close do you have to get? Well, really, when you're figuring out this kind of stuff for just a load for like a generator, well, how accurate are these meters? Well, they're close enough, I would say. So let's go on to another appliance here, and we'll take a look at this power tool, and we'll see what the specs look like, and we'll see how close they are. Okay, so let's take a look at my Makita angle grinder, and this is a 4.5 inch, and if we take a good close look there, you could see where it says 120 volts, 6 amps. Okay, so you know, when you're thinking about figuring out what the wattage is, well, you just multiply the voltage times the amperage and you're going to get the wattage. So let's take a look and see if this runs at 6 amps. Because a lot of people say to themselves, well, will that generator run, you know, like this one, maybe 2 grinders, maybe 3 grinders? How many grinders would it run? I mean, it says right here 6 amps, right? So let's test it and we'll see. Is it 6 amps? Okay, I got the grinder sitting on the floor. It's going to make a lot of noise, but I'll turn the grinder on, and what we're looking for is 6 amps. Okay, I got 2.65 on the meter and about 2.7 on my Fluke amp clamp. That was nowhere near 6, was it? But the original Inrush, this would not pick up because, well, it's just not a very accurate, you know, and fast enough to pick it up. But you could see it was running at about less than half of what it was rated for. So let's go on to another one here. Okay, so I'm only going to do one more. And this is just my jigsaw. And you can see right there, 5 amps. So what do you guys think is going to happen here? Because I think you're getting the idea. So let's just plug this in and we'll see exactly, well, is this one 5 amps? Okay, so this time, watch the digits here. And we'll see whether you can catch it spiking when it first starts up. So here's the jigsaw right here. Okay, and this one here, you could tell it was 2.58, 2.57, and on the Fluke, yeah, it was about the same. So, I mean, it's accurate enough, right? How accurate you have to be. So, the testing actually shows that the amount of amperage that's posted on a power tool is the peak amperage. And that's what they actually show everybody when you look at a guide of what every particular kind of power tool actually consumes in wattage or amperage. And it doesn't relate correctly to a generator, and I'm going to explain exactly why. Okay, so you're a generator salesperson. The best thing you could do was show a chart to somebody with all the different things that they may want to plug in, and it'll show the amount of wattage or amperage, and they say, well, now pick the size of generator you need. In my particular situation, I've actually showed you that the running watts or amps is not the same on all types of different electrical appliances compared to when they first start up. And that's exactly how I get to run my furnace, my freezer, my TV, my fridge, my internet, and also put a table lamp on. So if you want to look at that video at the end here, I'll put one of the little boxes in. You can take a look at the first box where I actually use this generator. I show how exactly I run everything in my house. I got all my meter readings. I got everything down. This runs it no problem. And then I'll put another box in there for all my electrical testing videos if you're interested in seeing more electrical testing. But generally, people buy too much generator because I never have everything come on at the same time. You know, it's not like it's all the same load running constantly all the time. Your fridge doesn't run all the time. Your furnace doesn't run all the time. I mean, these are loads, you know, like a freezer. Yes, your TV would be constant. Your internet would be constant. A light bulb would be something constant. But the other ones are off and on, duty cycles. Usually around 50% on, 50% off the time. And they all start and, you know, stop at different times. Except for the first time you start them up. And that's where you have to use a little bit of logic. And you can see what I do at my place, how I actually run all the appliances, is turn them on and off at separate times. And then they will cycle on and off at separate times. The only thing is, the furnace will cycle on when, say, the fridge is on. No problem with this one. No problem at all. And, you know, when you're thinking about buying a generator, yeah, you can buy a big honking generator to power your whole house, but you better have all kinds of gas sitting around ready to fill that up, because I tell you something, no problem for my buddy's generator, and I think his is 7,000 watt, and when the power went out, what could he do? He didn't know how to get the electricity into his house. You know, and I told him, I said, well, the only thing you have is to run a couple of extension cords. That's all you can do. You can't use that whole 7,000 watts in the first place. But he had that big honking machine running. And, you know, to run it for 24 hours, you're talking 15 gallons of gas. So, you know, that's a lot of gas to have around when the power goes out. Something small like this, very efficient. You know, turn it on, turn it off. You know, you can stagger, no problem, running it for an hour, you know, maybe 5 times a day, 6 times a day on a gallon. So, I mean, think about when the power goes out, because a lot of people don't think about the power goes out. They go to size their generator by looking at all these specs of different stuff, and they don't realize that there's 2 types of specs. One for startup and one for running. And there's a huge difference between the two. So thanks for joining me here today, and I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a presentation on at least what kind of generator. I don't, you know, sponsor, you know, anybody on my channel, and Honda, well, I think they make an awesome product. I'm not here just to push Honda, but I mean, if you find any other generator out there, I would highly recommend an inverter generator, not one of these old style ones where a lot of digital electronics will not run off of. So, you know, it's really entirely up to you. But the whole idea of getting a generator for when the power goes out is to be ready for when the power goes out. You got to have your gasoline. You have to have your maintenance for your generator. You know, you have to have a way of bringing the power into your house. There's all kinds of complications, and I would say check out the videos and decide for yourself, but be prepared. So thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe, and look forward to me doing some more testing with this generator in the future to show you a little bit more about the capability. And it's not how big of a generator you need, it's how small of a generator you need is probably a better thing to say, because smaller means less fuel burn and more time to be able to actually keep your generator running, compared to, like I said, my buddy, he'd go through 15 gallons of gas a day. Cheers.